Hi there, I'm Wendy and welcome to my channel. This video is all about the Kernow Yarn and Fibre Festival, and this is a yarn event that's held down here in Cornwall in the UK. Now, up until now, there's always been a Kernow Yarn and Fibre Festival in the September time, but this is the first time that they've put on an additional springtime version. So I've got a little bit of footage to show you, and then I'm going to be talking to you about it, and then I'll show you some of the things that I bought on the day as well. So I'll start with the footage and then come back and have a little chat from there. So I hope you enjoyed my little bit of footage and roundup of the event. Now, that certainly wasn't all the stalls. I only took footage of a few stalls as and when I went around the event, and that is simply because as soon as I get to a yarn festival, I just get mesmerised looking at the yarn, looking at the products, talking to people, and then everything goes out the window, so to speak. Anyway, just before I start, I must say a hello and welcome to anyone that is new to my channel, and also a big welcome back to anyone that's a returner. It's lovely to have you all here. And if you haven't already subscribed, it would be great if you did, because then you'll get to hear when my next videos go live. And also, if you enjoy my video, it would be lovely if you gave me a like as well. And that helps send my videos to like-minded people like yourself. Now, Kernow Yarn and Fibre Festival is located in the Pavilion Centre, which is on the edge of the Royal Cornwall Showground in Weybridge. So it's very easy to find. Everywhere will direct you to it. And there's also a great big petrol station just around the corner. So if you have travelled and you need to refuel up, you don't have to look for a fuel station. However, parking really isn't a problem there. There is loads and loads of free parking. However, when I got there, the first sort of parking area had just filled, and I was given a space right in front of the pavilion. I couldn't believe it. I was so lucky. So that's my photo there. I just thought that was funny at the time, but hey ho. And it's very, very accessible. It's set on 3 floors, but there is a accessible lift, and the staircases are nice and wide. And yep, and you've got no steps up to the event as well. So the whole thing is really easy to get around. And when you go in there, you've got they call it a lounge. You've got your foyer, and then you go into, I'm going to say it's a smaller hall, but you go into a smaller hall, which they call a lounge, and then that leads you through to the main lounge. And that's where a lot of the exhibitors are. And then you come back out into the smaller lounge and into the foyer, and then you go downstairs, and that is another exhibitor area down there as well. Then there's an upstairs area, which it felt like it's got a slightly mezzanine floor because it's sort of half of it is open and looks over into the main area. And that's great if you manage to get up there to get an aerial shot of the whole hall. But that's where the workshops are held, and they had 4 workshops going on there. So I didn't go to any of the workshops, so I didn't go up there myself, but I did go into the first lounge area, the main hall area, and the downstairs area. And the toilets and washroom facilities, they were on the lower floor, which was easy to access because you had these nice wide staircases and you also had the lift option as well. So just finishing on that sort of thing, the catering was outside in 2 vans and that was beautiful. That was really nice. And I had a cappuccino coffee from the coffee van that was selling all different types of teas and coffees and drinks and delicious cakes. And then they had I think it was a street food type van as well next to that. And there's plenty of outdoor seating around the event and around to the side. So, getting back to the actual event itself, the first stall that I saw was a fairly new stall actually. I think she's only started in the last year or so because it was a young lady that started to crochet a couple of years ago, and I didn't realise at the time, but she's got quite a big TikTok account and an Instagram account as well. And I think she's on all the social media, and she's called Cozy 20 Hooks. Now, I had actually seen some of her footage and read about her before I went there, so I did specifically want to go to see her stand. And luckily, she was the first person that I saw because she was the very first stall. So in that first area, there was her and the Yarny octopus. And I'm just thinking, oh, there was a felt art and there was another stall as well. But yeah, there was these 4 stalls in that first area. And then when you went into the main hall, the first stand that sort of stood out to me was the stand that I never got back to. And every time I went to go to it, something happened or it was busy, and it always had lots of people. And that was Dawn Jill Designs, and she is a silversmith. And she does silver crochet hooks and she does silver jewellery that's knitting and crochet inspired, and also really useful gadgets. And she sells rings that have got feeder hooks for doing colourwork knitting. And I know that she had some that had got 2 or 3 hooks on them. So that was something that I wanted to go and look at, and I didn't get to do it. So that is one on my hit list for the next time that I missed. But just past Dawn Jill Designs was a stand called A Little Craft Room, which is run by the lovely Nicola that I know. And she's always so bubbly and so lovely that I went and said hello to her, and I did buy one of her patterns as well. So I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. But as you moved around, there was Bellica Yarns with their really, really beautiful stand. And I was there actually quite a while looking at their yarns and looking at their bags as well. And then further on, there was a stand that I haven't seen before, which really stood out to me because of their colours, and that was Bluebell Yarns, and that was really, really lovely. So I moved around looking around the stalls. There was a few to just mention was Rosie's Moments, there was the Left Hookery, and then there was another one called, I think it was Green and Glass. Was it Green and Glass? Yes, Green and Glass. And I bought some things from her as well, so I'm going to show you those in a little while. But anyway, it took me a while to mooch all the way around the main hall, and then I headed downstairs, and the first thing that struck me was at the end there was the beautiful, really vibrant fox and squirrel stand. Now, I didn't buy anything from them this time, but I don't feel guilty because I was at Unravel and I bought some things from them there, but their colours are just stunning. They just really, really stand out. But anyway, as I went through the hall, there was a stand that sells wood-turned products like handles for crochet hooks and pens and things like that. And then there was Magpie Butterfly, run by the lovely Vanessa, who has really beautiful buttons, ceramic buttons and accessories and things like that. But when I went down into the hall, I knew where I was going, and I was heading to the Hive. Now, the Hive is also known as Demelza Delights, and she has a lovely shop in Pelynt in Cornwall, and I know whenever she's at shows she's always got a really good supply of needles and hooks. So she was at Kernow Yaff as the Hive, so she was selling John Arbon yarn, and she also had lots of accessories and all her hooks. So I was actually there quite a while because, as I said, she always has such a good selection that I like to buy live if I can, but sometimes that can be quite difficult, can't it, if you know you want specific makes for needles and hooks. So that was really good. And then after that I headed outside because a few of us said that we would meet at 12:30 for coffee, and some had some lunch, and I just ordered a cappuccino. I was really tempted by the cakes though. I do have to say I was tempted by the cakes, but I quite enjoyed having that time outside because we all shared what we bought, what we were looking at. Suddenly realised there were some stands that I'd missed the first time round. And so it was nice because we'd all had our own look around the show, but then we were going back in and some of us just had a little wander around together, and it then felt more leisurely. So that's where I'll start coming to my purchases. So the first thing that I'm going to show you was actually the first stand as I went back inside into the main hall. And that was quite a surprise to me because I had no intention of buying washing products, but I bought a hand washing product for socks, and it's by Yarn Food, and they had a really pretty carousel stand. I'm going to pop that up there. I did buy everything, by the way, I will say this, with all my own money and no discounts. I'm just showing you what I bought and yeah, what appealed to me. But this was a funny one because two of my friends were standing at the stall and said, "Oh, Wendy, have you seen this?" So anyway, after smelling a few of his products, I was tempted into buying this because I knit a lot of socks and I put them on sock blockers and then I gift them. So this smells wonderful. It actually smells slightly tea tree oil, and I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was because I have tried it on my husband's socks, and I simply just soaked them in a bowl of water for 15-20 minutes, and then I just wrung the water out and then just wrapped them in a towel and hung them to dry, and they came out beautifully. And I'm going to say shame on me. I am normally one of these people that put them in the washing machine on a gentle wash. So this is the first time that I've hand washed socks. But it was really easy, and so easy that that's probably what I'll do now with all our hand wash socks, because I wear them most days. My husband wears them most days now as well. So yeah, so I'm going to be using that, and he reckons that I'll probably get, I think he said I'll get 100 washes from that. So I'm going to try that more and we'll see what happens. So that was the first thing that was unintentional. But I'm going to tell you about an intentional purchase because I had looked at Cozy 20 hooks and seen some of the things that she made, and I've been on the lookout. Now this is my needles, this isn't what I bought from her. As I said to you, I knit a lot of socks and I use 2.5mm needles, and I use Magic Loop where I don't normally need needle ends, but I now knit, I've converted. I now knit on minis for the legs and sometimes for the feet, depending on the pattern. So that's my little mini sock that I'm making at the moment. And I've been struggling. I have got 1 or 2 pairs of needle toppers that I can use as end stops that work, but a few that I've bought recently, they're just too big for a 2.5 needle. So I wanted to try this and see if it worked. So I bought these really cute little sheep from her. I don't know if you can see them. I'll do that. They are really cute. And I'm so happy because they fit and they stay on my 9-inch circulars. It would help if I put the sheep on the right way around, wouldn't it? There we go. So proof is in the pudding. My needle stoppers, they work. So I'm really happy with them. Then I bought another gadget off her. Now this sounds a bit weird, but it's actually quite clever. And I bought a keyring. Now, this keyring, I'm going to turn it around. Stupid me though. I bought the top bead because I thought it was a Springer Spaniel. It's a beagle, but it doesn't matter. It's a dog and I love dogs, so that's fine. So this is a ordinary, lovely, pretty keyring. They were in all different colours, and I have my dog bead on the top, and you could put any bead that you wanted on there, and then you'd got room for 2 smaller beads and possibly a filler bead as well. But the clever thing is this unscrews, and these beads that are on the keyring are also perfect as needle stoppers for my 2.5mm needles. So I'm just going to get my long needle for a minute. It's just easier. So that's my 2.5. There we go. And so I've got my needle stopper, so I'm not going to lose my stitches off the end of my sock needles. And if I've gone out and I've forgotten to take some end stops with me, some needle end stoppers for my socks, they will be on my keyring. So there's my keyring, but handily it's still got a little ring on the bottom as well. So I'm going to hang a couple of spare stitch markers, probably be ones that I don't use often, but I'll probably pop a few of my sort of padlock style or lobster claw stitch markers, so that if I'm out and I've taken my knitting, I've got some emergency bits and pieces that I can use. So that made me very happy. So that was purchase number 2. So purchase number 3, as I said to you, I was going to go to the Hive to get some, well, I was going to look at needles and at hooks, and she had some tins. Now, I have a tin. I find it really useful and I use it all the time, but it's getting a little bit tatty. So I picked myself up a pretty tin. I'm just a sucker for pretty tin. So that's that. And then also, while I was there, I picked up a Addy crochet hook. Now, you may not know this, but I collect crochet hooks. I've probably got nearly all the makes in a size 4mm. I've got a photo, I'll pop it up so that you can see some of the ones that I've got. But I hadn't got this one. Now, it looks rather toothbrush-like, doesn't it? I must say. But I bought it because I'm interested to see what happens. Now, I'm going to be honest, we do all possibly sometimes knit or crochet a little bit too much and can get achy hands. So I can't trial this out and test this out until my hands get achy, if that makes sense, because I'm quite happy with my crochet hook that I use on a regular basis. I use a Tulip and I really like that brand, and it just suits me. However, I hold my hook in a knife grip, in a knife hold, and I hold it like that with my forefinger on the top, and occasionally I can get a bit of ache. So when my hands ache, I want to see what it's like holding this, because you have to hold it further down the hook. It's got a nice thumb rest, but you hold it more like this. So this is going to be a little bit of a wait, really. I'm going to have to wait till I've crocheted too much to find out how I get on with it. But I'm really looking forward to it. So that's that. And then while I was there, I bought some stitch markers from her because I do like her stitch markers. And some of my favourite ones are ones that I've got from her yarn that comes with a stitch marker on it. So I'm going to be honest, I just like the quality of the hooks that she uses. So I got some really cute little sort of kiddie inspired one. I'm not sure whether that's going to focus and whether you're going to be able to see them properly, but I'm going to pop a picture up so that you can see as well. And the reason that I bought those was I do some baby and children knitting and crochet now in the mix with everything else. And this is my last one for my little grandson here. I don't think you can see it that well in the light, but I love dressing my knitting and crochet with pretty stitch markers. I don't know why, I almost treat it like jewellery. I just love using them. So on this one here, I've got my little balls of yarn, and at the back, I've got a flip-flop on it. I've just got a thing about stitch markers. So I wanted to have some little childlike ones that I can put on my baby wear and my children wear when I'm making that as well. So I was quite happy with that. I've still not bought any yarn at this stage, but I was having a lovely time and everyone was saying, oh, haven't bought much. And I was thinking, well, I have got it all in my bag here, but you just can't see it. So we moved on from there and I went back upstairs and I ended up at Rosie's Moments. Now, I don't feel guilty buying this at all because I do a lot of sock knitting and I sometimes go to knitting groups, and I bought one of these yarn holders. Now, I haven't used it yet, but it spins totally around and around, and I was looking at them, and basically, whereas I just showed you my sock a minute ago, which is here, this is my ball of yarn. So the idea is that now when I go to a knitting group, I'm going to put my ball of yarn onto here so that I can just have this on my wrist. I am also going to try taking this with me down to the beach, and I am also going to try knitting and walking at the same time this summer. But I thought this is a really handy thing to have, because sometimes when I'm at a knitting group, by the time everybody's round a table and they've got drinks, or they might have drinks and cakes or drinks and food, there sometimes isn't a lot of space. So this way I'm all self-contained. So that, I'm hoping, is going to be a really, really useful purchase, and I will be taking photos of it. So hopefully you will be seeing this on Instagram and things like that soon. So that was one thing from Rosie's Moments. And then while I was there, just by chance, I saw these, and one of them had the box open. Now, this is knitting barbers, and I love knitting barbers. I've got one set and it's white, but this set, actually, I must show you the case. It's got a nice little case. It's got a little spring hook where you can put your barbers together and sort of hold them all together. And so you get the little case that zips up, and then you get 3 cords. They remind me of, do you remember Children's Sweets? Was it Strawberry Laces? Was it a finer one? But anyway, you get 3 cords, and you get 2 that are 75 centimetres long, and you get 1 that is 150 centimetres long. And the idea is that when you want to either free up your needles, perhaps you're in the middle of a project and you need to use your needles for another project, or you want to try your garment on, especially if you're making a top-down jumper, you can just take your stitches that are on your knitting needle, and then you can just pop it on the end of your knitting barber, and then you can just slide all your stitches across, take your needle off, and then you've either got your needle free to use it for something else, or if you're going to try your garment on, the 150 centimetres one, it goes right around me. I'll do that again. Goes right around me. So I think, I mean, that will accommodate most sizes of top-down jumpers for the yoke. So you can try your jumper on and check it for size at the yoke and when you split for the armholes. So that's really handy. And then the 2 smaller ones, they are to put on your sleeves. So you can do the same thing with your sleeves as well. And sometimes if you look at my Instagram photos, when I've made top-down jumpers, you can see that mine are on a barber. But I'm going to be honest, I've got a lovely white set and I wanted a different colour because I started knitting, this is confessions time, the Celeste jumper from Petite Knit over a year ago. And I was having an op and I put my yoke of the Celeste jumper onto a knitting barber, and there it still is. So I've got to get that off the barber and onto my needles and make that over the next couple of months. So I've said it, so I've got to do it. So that was my purchases from Rosie's Moments. And then, I'm saving my best for last actually. Then I walked past Green and Glass, and I hadn't noticed her the first time round. And she had a really beautiful stand. And I will buy more stitch markers off of her if I see her at a show again. But I think by the time I saw her, I was getting towards the end of the day, and I'd bought a few things and I was getting ready to go basically. But I had to buy these. Now, these are little stitch markers. I'm going to put this up. They are little cats, but they're really good because they're very fine. The actual width of them is very fine. And I've got a whole little collection of them. And I'm also doing some shawl knitting at the moment, and I'm using ring stitch markers between the pattern repeats on the shawl. But the rubber stitch markers that I'm using feel quite thick, and I almost feel as if I'm creating a gap between the pattern repeats where the thread is trailing around the stitch marker. So I was looking for some really fine ones, and they are really pretty colours, and I do love the fact that they're cat's ears, and I do have a cat as well as a dog, and so yeah, so I bought those as well. So I'm coming down to my last couple of purchases now, and so the next one I'm going to show you is from the lovely Nicola at A Little Craft Room, and this is her Alice T. Now, normally I buy my patterns digitally online now on Ravelry, but every time I've seen her stall, I've been saying, I'm going to buy that pattern, and I haven't. So this time I thought, when I see Nicola, if that pattern is sitting on her stall, I'm going to buy it because I want to make it. And the reason is, as much as I really love colourful crochet and multicolour crochet, and please don't think I'm putting any opinion here, I do, I love it and I make it. Sometimes we also need some plainer things, and I've seen Nicola wearing this quite a few times now, and it looks really nice. And I've got the perfect 4-ply grey yarn to make this in a dark grey, so that I can wear it with brighter colours, with brighter coloured skirts and trousers and things like that. So I thought that was a really, really nice wearable top. So I'm definitely going to be making that. So now I'm just down to my last thing. So unbelievably, I only bought one skein of yarn, and that wasn't from intention. I think it was just that I got distracted with so many lovely things. But this again, I had seen on Instagram before I went to the event, and it was just somewhere lurking in the back of my mind. And before I left, I thought, I'm going to go back, because I had been at this stall a couple of times, and both times there were people standing in front of the 4-ply and the DK area, and so you can't really go and nudge people out the way, can you? So I just thought I'd come back. So isn't it beautiful? I just love those colours. And I gave myself a little talking to. I was going to buy a 4-ply version, and then I saw she had one skein left of this colourway in double knit. And I thought, that is coming home with me. I am buying that. And my intention at the time was that I've got quite a bit of West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab double knit in cream. And I thought that will look beautiful as a quite simple colour work yoke, because you'll only be using the one colour, and it will just create a load of colour on a cream jumper and look lovely. So that's what I bought it for. But ever since I've bought it, I keep thinking about a hat. And I usually wear a hat when I go dog walking. It's usually windy or with the weather. Here in the UK and on the coast, I do normally wear a hat, and I was just thinking, this is just going to be, it's a good look, isn't it? But I just love the colours. So I think after this video, I am going to wind this off on a wool winder and I'm going to crochet myself a hat for a change. So, yep, wait and see. Hopefully over the next week or so, that will appear on my Instagram as a hat because it's just so beautiful and I just want to have that made up into something. So, with that, I think that is all my makes and I can't wait for the next one, to be quite honest. It was really lovely just being able to get up and just drive half an hour and be at a yarn event, and I really did enjoy it. So I just want to say well done to everyone that was involved in organising it. It really was lovely. There was a raffle that was good as well, and you went around and you just had some stamps that you had to collect along the way, and then you popped that into a raffle box before you left. But yeah, that is it, and I can't believe I've done 2 yarn festivals already this year. It's not like me. So I haven't got one to go to for a little while. So that's given me a bit of a fix. But hopefully I'll be back in a few weeks with a catch-up video on everything that I've been making over the last month. And I'd just like to say thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope if you've not been to Kernow Yaff before, that this might have inspired you in any way to give it a visit next time, because it really is a lovely place and it's in such an easy location to drive to if you're coming down to Cornwall. So for now, I'll just say thanks for joining me. Take care, happy knitting, happy crocheting, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.